On today's Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the first one of April, by the way, we talk about the ongoing quarterback controversy and competition and talk to Tom Vanderford about his perspective on Ole Miss Sports. It's the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. I am your host, Stephen Willis, and thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So do me a favor, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the bell for notifications when we upload a new video, and of course, upvote the video itself. If we get to 1,000 YouTube channel subscribers, we will do a live podcast with your interaction post-game for Ole Miss during football season. Should be a lot of fun, so keep that in mind. Now, yesterday we had Jaxson Dart and Luke Altmyer talking to the press, and their debut kind of went out to the Ole Miss fan base, and there were some interesting answers that happened. But the thing that happened that really surprised me was the obvious mindset of Luke Altmyer. Now, I've seen comments in the videos that we have done that there's no quarterback competition, that Jaxson Dart is absolutely going to win, and they're just absolutely hyping him up. Yes, and I understand he's Gatorade National Player of the Year formerly. He's formerly a starter at USC. He's got more reps. He's got more yards than Luke Altmyer. But I've told you over and over that Luke Altmyer has a path to win this job. It's probably a probability at this point that Jaxson Dart will win at about 60%. But that means that Luke Altmyer has about a 40% probability of winning the job. Now, Luke Altmyer's answers to questions and things where he talked about the Sugar Bowl and how he thinks about that every day and he beats himself up and he's a perfectionist and he uses that for motivation moving forward and he wouldn't trade that experience for anything. I ate that up. That quote right there got me unbelievably excited about all things Ole Miss football. And that got me thinking, and I've said this over and over again to you. There's really a path for a great quarterback competition and a surprise in this quarterback competition moving forward. And that'd be the gunslinger that is Jaxson Dart, who is the Brett Favre of the scenario. But Luke Altmyer playing the role of a Drew Brees. Something very machine-like and doing all the things almost robotic. He has a chance to do some special things. Now, I'm not saying any of that would happen. I'm saying that is a path that could happen. And understand what that would mean. But it is the perfect thing if you want to contrast that style against the Jaxson Dart gunslinger, Brett Favre style, where you think you can make all the throw. Because one thing that is absolutely true, and it's stuck out with me ever since Brian Robison talked about playing quarterback in the Lane Kiffin system at Florida Atlantic, and that was do not turn over the ball. Do what is asked of you. Don't do more, don't do less. Do what is asked of you. And that is going to be tough for a new quarterback in a new system trying to make his way and trying to make an impact. So, like I told you, if Luke Altmyer can win the job with the experience he has, if he was here, this is when it was when Jaxson Dart took over. If that experience gap stays until fall camp, Luke Altmyer has a chance. If Jaxson Dart closes that any at all, even a little bit, it's huge advantage Jaxson Dart. Because I will concede to people that say he would not be at Ole Miss if he didn't think he could win the job. Lane Kiffin wouldn't have taken him if he thought he couldn't win the job. But also, they need to take into account that one of the tenets of this program is competition. And understand how that works and what's going on. I mean, it's a really, really interesting thing. This is the time of year when I've pretty much given up on all my New Year's resolutions, but not this year. This year I'm sticking to my resolution to eat right, thanks to Built Bar. It almost feels like it's not really a resolution because I actually enjoy eating them. Have you tried the Puffs? If you haven't, you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting bars. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy, they're not just a protein bar, they're a treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Mint brownie, coconut almond, and new for this month, white chocolate cookies and cream. They're all delicious, and new flavors are coming out all the time. If they think a flavor might be good, they'll make it. It'll be delicious, and it will be good for you. At Built Bar, they're all about the taste. They make it taste delicious first, then figure out how to make it healthy. I don't know how they do it, but they pull it off every single time. So here's the offer. Go to Built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15, all one word, and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Don't forget to rate and review us on iTunes. Give us a 5-star review. You can say whatever you want to do. Just give us a 5-star review. That will help people that are trying to find the podcast as well. So we would appreciate that. And it should be a lot of fun. Just a heads up, take care of a little bit of business before we get to Tom Vanderford. Tonight, I am taking my wife to Mama Melrose's at Hollywood Studios in Disney World. So I will not be able to do a post-game pod tonight for Ole Miss's game against Kentucky. It's Dylan Delucia on the mound. It's going to look completely different. The other two starters are to be announced, so the rotation is going to look completely different. But you know, I'm ready to see what Dylan Delucia can do and how that starting pitching will look like. But Hollywood Studios getting back to normal, honestly. It's getting back to normal with its COVID rules and things like that. So if you're interested in that, do that. We're annual pass holders, so we're just going there to eat. We have an 8 o'clock reservation for a little bit of Italian food at Hollywood Studios. And we're thinking about getting there a little bit early to maybe see the Indiana Jones stunt show or something like that. Should be a lot of fun doing that. But we talked about the quarterback competition in the first segment of this show. And it's actually a really big deal what's going on, because you have two quarterbacks that kind of have two different skill sets that can both perform really well in this offense. It's not something where a skill set is viewed as a disadvantage, but it's two different skill sets that can do really well. And with Zach Evans in the backfield, you'll hear me and Tom talk about this in just a minute. He has a chance to do really special things. Former players are blown away by him. He's an Adrian Peterson style running back. He's the most talented running back that has ever stepped foot on Ole Miss's campus. Now, again, as I will say, as Ken Drysdale said, it's one thing to be talented. It's another to be good. And what these guys need are these reps going on to get as good as possible. Because as it moves on, they need to get there. Until we hit the stripe out game. Like if you look at the calendars of what's going on, it could be a red game, it could be a navy blue game, it could be a powder blue game. Well, the Kentucky game is listed as a stripe out. Now, I am concerned about this game. I don't know how many people will participate. Ole Miss fans generally just do not like being told what to do. If they're told to wear red, they want to wear blue. If they're told to wear white, they want to wear powder blue. If they're told to wear powder blue, they want to wear red. Whatever it is, it was the wrong choice that was made. And I don't know if they will participate enough to make this have the desired effect on camera. That Kentucky game has a chance to be really huge. And it's probably the right game to pick out what they want it to do because it's against another blue team. So it's going to be probably red and navy blue in the crowd. And it has a chance to look really cool going back and forth. And I'm just curious to see if Ole Miss fans will participate and do what they need to do and not try and be overly cute. You know, there are several people that, like I said, they just can't be told what to do. And that's kind of a thing for them. So that's pretty much all I have to say for that. But a stripe out. We're going to try to do a stripe out for the Kentucky game. Game 5 in Vaught-Hemingway Stadium, a stripe out. So it should be pretty good. Anyway, after months of playing, college basketball has determined its top teams for the Final Four and will determine this year's national champion this coming week. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info, from all of the latest odds, contests, player props, and you name it. BetOnline remains the best spot for all of your latest sports developments, including podcasts and reviews for all the leagues this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Don't forget to rate and review us on iTunes. Give us a 5-star review. You can say whatever you want to say. Just give us a 5-star review. I'm here with Tom Vanderford to talk with him in his weekly perspectives feature on the program. Tom's got a little inroad going in for some inside information. I know we don't do that, but good grief, Tom, you got some good stuff coming.
Oh yeah. I've got a just give you a little backstory. In 2019, I was tailgating with a group. They did the twin tent, chandeliers, all that stuff. And there was just this lady, and her husband wasn't even there. And one of her relatives were sitting over in a tent all by herself. And we're like, get over here and hang out with us. Well, it turned out to be Shanti Sistrunk's mom. So I've developed a relationship with his mom, Terry, and his dad, Rodney. And and I've seen Ashanti mature over the years. As a true freshman, he just played special teams, and then he got in a couple of games last year, led the team in tackles against Louisville, and had just a wonderful third and fourth quarter against Texas A&M that helped us secure that win. So it's been nice seeing him grow. And of course, that there are other players on the team that, they all hang around, and the parents hang around and all that good stuff. But the one thing that I've taken away from people that have been at the practices is that some of these new kids are really showing out. Coleman said that Rodney was telling me about Coleman, and he said, look, the kid is super good, super fast. The only thing that I would worry about with him is he probably needs to gain a few pounds if he's going to be an every down linebacker in SEC. He probably weighs 200, 210, and but it's lightning fast, and he comes with an attitude, and he'll hit you. But we've got some, and you mentioned it previously on a podcast I was watching. A lot of folks, the Made Mississippi thing, where we started getting these kids from small schools. Some folks kind of made fun of that, but you see kids like him, Caleb Warren, that went to Ninawaya. You see all these guys that Austin Keys, I think he went to seminary. I'm not sure, but just all these little small school kids, and they're monsters. And they're if Ashani wanted it, he'd have another COVID year. I mean, this is his senior year, but he could get another year because of COVID. But and some of those other kids, they've been very good contributors. DeAndre Prince, how lucky were we to get him back from Northeast? I mean, as I understand it, he was a walk-on last year. I don't know what he is this year, but the only way he could come back was to walk on. And to have people like that in your defensive backfield, and then to read Tysheem Johnson today, his quote, I don't know if you've read it yet. I'm sure you have. He said, we're going to have the best secondary in the country. He didn't say the SEC. He said, we're going to be the best secondary in the country. And that's great that they've got that motivation. It's great that they feel that way.
Yeah, I tell people all the time that people choose to cover your football team negatively because eventually they will be right. That's the one way to guarantee that you will eventually be right, because of the cycles of college football. And honestly, it's the reason last year when everybody said their goal was to be a top 80 defense. And everybody laughed at that. And they made fun of that. And they did that for months going up into the season. I was the only one that said we had a chance to be a top half defense. Everybody else just made fun of that prospect.
Oh, yeah. We were going to be awful.
Yeah. But their whole goal was if they were bad, if the year before continued, they get to say, hey, see, I was right. I know exactly what I'm talking about. But in reality, it was just a lazy narrative guess in hopes that you're not really paying attention. And this team this year has a chance to be a top 30 defense in the country, if not higher. This has a chance to be a very, very good defense. Now, it does depend on Chris Partridge and his experience calling a defense for the first time. But he's been in the game planning situation. He's done this for 10 years. It's just actually calling the plays. And 90% of our defense will be that 3-2-6 that we saw last year. But he'll have wrinkles that he will install as well. Probably that he brought with him down from Michigan and something like that he liked. But it's still going to be on him to call the right defense at the right time against the right offense. And if he shows the knack for that, they have a chance to be a really good unit.
They do. They do. And he's got enough big, fast guys now that he can do all kinds of weird stuff. You know, I mean, he really does. I mean, Jeremy Pegues is a freak of nature.
Yes.
He's huge. He's quick. You know, he's a freak of nature.
Yeah, and he's a genuine 3 technique. Even though we don't play with the 3 technique because we don't usually do any format, but he can play that 3 technique position. But he's athletic enough to where he can play the strong side defensive end in a 3-4, and he's big enough to be a 3-4 type end. So the versatility is just impressive.
Well, it is. It is. And you know, we've talked about this before, and I'll reiterate it. I haven't seen from top to bottom a more talented Ole Miss team in my lifetime. I'm not saying that's going to translate to wonderful things and awesome wins. We had the ball bounced our way a lot last year. And, you know, we had I'm sure an NFL first-round draft pick quarterback and tons of people that are going to be taken in the draft and free agency. But the experience level's not going to be optimum, but the talent level, I mean, we've talked about it before. Jaxson Dart, Gatorade Player of the Year for the whole country. Yeah. Zach Evans, when he was committed to Georgia, he was the number 1 player in the country, regardless of position. I've heard multiple people say, I even read somewhere I think it was on Twitter, where somebody said that a player at Ole Miss, just another player, said that if he doesn't get injured, that Zach Evans will probably be the best running back ever to step foot on Ole Miss campus.
Yeah, he has Adrian Peterson.
That's
ability.
Unbelievable. Mm-hmm. That's unbelievable. I mean, this is another player.
Yeah.
You know, so, and, you know, the depth we have at running back. I mean, we don't, you know, I keep reading, you know, our offense, we're new quarterback, you know, our running game's being replaced, yada, 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 yada. But I don't think people, you know, you ever heard the old saying, you know, you can't see the forest for looking at one individual tree. I think that's what they're doing. I don't think they're looking at the whole package. Lane Kiffin's offense is going to score points. It's going to move the ball. And the fact is that we're going to have the best defense that we've had since
2014. Yeah, since 2014.
I completely agree. I completely agree. Yeah.
And you know from the Miracle on Ice, Ken Dryden was the color commentator with Al Michaels, and I say this all the time. I probably said this 5 times on this podcast, but he had a quote from that was absolutely wonderful. But he said, "It's one thing to be talented; it's quite another thing to be good." And that is why these spring practices matter, these reps matters, this fall is going to matter. Because it is
fall practice.
Yeah, it's about promises fulfilled. And if they can put it all together, they literally have the talent to be a playoff team this year. I'm not saying they're a playoff team, but they have that kind of talent. If the things bounce their way, the things bounce that way, they have the ability to do that. Yeah. Will they do it? I don't know. But I do say on this show, one of the things that we like to do, we do perspectives, we do commentary, but we also treat you like adults. We don't sugarcoat things. We don't do everything. We tell everything the exact truth. And if it doesn't happen, don't be disappointed. There's no consequences at all. Just acknowledge that it just didn't come through. 2015, 4th and 25 happened. Everybody got hurt by it. That's great. What was the actual consequence in your life?
Yeah. Oh, in my life, nothing. I just, wanted us to go to Atlanta. That's all. Mm-hmm. But, nothing changed. Life went on, And
we ended up winning the Sugar Bowl.
Exactly. And, this year when we didn't win the Sugar Bowl, life went on. Mm-hmm. And when Matt got hurt, life went on. But I really think that it is starting to be something special. When you read something from Jaxson Dart and he says, hey, I already got 75% of the offense down pat, man. Yeah,
I don't know if I believe that. It is a simple offense. Offense, but I think a lot of that is just to make it sound like he's maybe further ahead than he is.
Right. Well, that could be. And then and I know a lot of this is lip service when, they talk to somebody and they talk about how, Altmyer's doing great and Dart's doing great and this and that and the other and back and forth. And one thing I did take out of these press conferences this week was that both quarterbacks are really happy that Mingo's healthy. Mm-hmm. So maybe that means this is his breakthrough year. When you get Mingo and Trigg and Knox and some of these other people, if we can get them rolling, and we're so deep, Braylon Brown, you just keep going. We're deep, we're talented. We just, like you said, we got to get those reps, man. Got to get those reps in the spring. Got to get those reps in the fall. And maybe we'll get Smith from LSU. That'd be the cherry on top. And I can't wait, man.
Speaking of the quarterback competition, like I said, today after practice, both Jaxson Dart and Luke Altmyer spoke. We did an extra video about it with the press conference highlights today. But Luke Altmyer impressed the hell out of me in that press conference. Talk about somebody that said all the right things. And we have the making for a pretty ultimate quarterback competition because you have the gunslinger, which Jaxson Dart is. He's Gatorade Player of the Year. Huge favorite. Got some Brett Favre in him. What's going on? Luke Altmyer in his press conference today sounded like he has a little bit of Drew Brees in him, which would be the quarterback that would give the gunslinger a little bit of problem because then all of a sudden you kind of become a machine. And if Luke Altmyer becomes that machine, that quarterback robot, this competition could be interesting, man.
Oh gosh, yeah. I fully expect, and I may be wrong. Lane has proven so far that he gets his guy, sticks with him, and that's it. But it would not surprise me at all, at least the first 3 or 4 games, if there's not a little bit of alternating those quarterbacks and getting both of them some reps in those first couple of games. Wouldn't surprise me a bit.
Yeah, Luke just impressed the heck out of me. Also, Jaxson Dart talking about where he is and how the work with Charlie Weiss has gone and the install process, because apparently they had a head start on the install, so they did a lot of classroom work before spring practice started. So they were able to actually rep it on field a little bit quicker. So now we're at the point of the spring where the actual competition happens. It's no longer learning the plays and what's going on. It's actually executing the plays to where if you have an experience gap, which I said, Luke Altmyer has an experience gap. This is his 3rd practice session in the system. But if it goes down at all, that's a huge advantage to Jaxson Dart. If it stays the same, this fall would be really interesting with Altmyer competing for the job.
Yeah, and whoever's second place, we're still. I mean, when was the last time you weren't on pins and needles hoping our starting quarterback didn't get hurt?
Yeah,
it's been a while.
No matter what happens, I do expect Lane Kiffin to not name a starting quarterback until the season, just for the main reason. After spring, you don't want Luke to bail.
No.
There's that chance. And if in practice the far and away winner is Jaxson Dart, and all the players can see what's going on. If it's a Chad Kelly situation against Ryan Buchanan, for instance.
Right, exactly.
If it's one of those, Luke could just disappear, even without Lane naming it, because it was just obvious to him. But the rumor is that Jack Abraham could be on campus, so the quarterback room could get a little depth as well coming up, even if Luke goes away. But it is what it is. I am looking forward to, hopefully Jack Abraham can come on campus, because I can't think of any other player that's played at USM, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss.
I don't think it's ever happened.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't. And he's a good kid, and he's from Oxford originally.
Mm-hmm.
So, he could live at home. He's probably going to be a PWO. He's probably going to be a walk-on. Mm-hmm. Live at home, work on his master's degree, and play for Ole Miss. I mean, and like you said, that's even more depth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing how much he's transferred the roster this year. I told people from the very beginning, when everybody said Ole Miss had 17 spots available, 32 were available for Lane Kiffin. He was going to find a way to use those 32, and he still is. He's going to use every one of them. And right now, we've gone from being like 17 or 18 four-star players out of high school to be in the low to mid-30s. That's how much he's changed the roster over in 1 year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's unbelievable. And he, even like I said before, he gets these transfer portal kids like the tackle. Yeah, he's a 4-star in the portal, Mason Brooks. 4-star in the portal, but was like a 2-star out of high school. Well,
nobody recruited him. Hmm?
Exactly. The Central Michigan linebacker, same way. Nobody hardly recruited him at all. The guy is a stud. I mean, he's before the portal, this year would not be very friendly to us Ole Miss fans pre-portal, because we lost a whole lot, and there would be a lot of learning and this and that and the other. But the portal, you plug in these kids, you get these kids that have been in the system 3 or 4 years, and all that together gives you such great depth that it's just, I'm really excited, man. I got my season ticket coming, and gonna sit with my buds again this year when I can, and of course just record it on the TV and watch it later. But I'm so excited. I'm like, heck, I can deal with the lines. I can deal with everything. I want to go sit there live and watch it and scream and yell and get into it, because I think it's going to be a really special year.
Yeah, I think so many people want football to be what it was in 2008. And they look at it the way they would look at football in 2008. But the reality is, in high school recruiting, it's all about finishing the top 2 now. It's not even about winning.
Exactly.
But somebody like Zach Evans, we finished second for Zach Evans, but he ended up transferring into Ole Miss. And there's several players that are similar to that. And in the future, that is almost the strategy moving forward. You recruit who you can, who can really help you. And then if you win, great. If you finish second, okay, just wait for them to get upset, because the reality is a 19-year-old kid not being pissed off for some reason that's going on about playing time or whatever else, that's extremely rare. And most of them aren't mature enough to handle the situation to begin with. They hop in the transfer portal, they go to the place that finished second, and all of a sudden they're playing for Lane Kiffin.
Exactly. And he's done a masterful job. It's like he said he was going to treat it like free agency. This is what I love about Kiffin. He telegraphs what he's going to do. He tells the whole world. And then when he does it, everybody's like, why'd he do that? Dude, he told you he was going to do it.
It's absolutely amazing. He'll sit in a press conference and say what's going on, and then the media will try and go at it like it's a code.
Yeah.
And that it needs to be breaking. And they're surprised whenever exactly what he said happens, because he doesn't talk in codes. He doesn't play games with the media. He just tells them what he's going to do. And it's pretty refreshing. But the fact that they play this code game is kind of funny, because they're wrong
it's
nearly
hilarious.
every time.
It's hilarious. Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Tune in next week for a little bit more of spring football. We'll talk about the Saturday scrimmage, and hopefully we'll have some new nuggets of information we can share with you as well. But now make the second listen Locked On NFL Draft. Ryan Tracy and former NFL cornerback Eric Crocker bring the NFL Draft to life every day with insight and analysis of college football prospects and NFL front offices. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. Tom, as always, man, I love doing this. I'll definitely see you next week. And we potentially have a surprise coming up in football season, I believe.
Good deal. Good deal. Hope so.
All right. Anyway, I'll see you next Friday, and I hope everything goes well. And are you going out to the scrimmage this weekend?
I'm not going this weekend. I'm going to the spring game, but I'm not going. But I've got my feelers out, so we'll see.
Okay. Perfect.
Yep.
All right. We'll talk to you next Friday, next Friday then.
Yep.
And have a good one, man.
Hey, you too. Hotty toddy.
Hotty toddy.